We all have those moments that really, really test our limits, right? But what if the source of true, unbreakable strength isn't what we've always been told? In this explainer, we're going to dive into a powerful framework for resilience that, honestly, it might just change the way you look at things.
So let's just jump right in with a question, and I think this is something we can all relate to. Have you ever felt like you were just so close to your breaking point?
Yeah, that feeling, it's all too familiar, isn't it? When you're just completely overwhelmed, the pressure is unbearable, and you're just running on fumes. The source material we're looking at today really gets into that feeling of having absolutely nothing left in the tank.
Okay, but this is where it gets really interesting. The whole idea we're exploring here suggests a pretty fundamental shift in how we think about strength. It basically asks us, what if our usual definition of strength is, well, completely missing the point?
So what is this different perspective? Well, think about it like this. On one hand, you've got self-reliance. You know, the idea that we just have to dig deeper, pull ourselves up by our bootstraps, and find that strength inside of us. But on the other hand, this framework introduces a whole different concept: divine trust. And the core idea here is that real, lasting strength isn't something we build ourselves. It's something we receive by looking to God.
All right, so to really get our heads around this idea of divine trust, the material we're digging into lays out a pretty clear roadmap. So let's start by exploring the first few pillars, the very foundation of what it calls a divine architecture of resilience.
And here they are. The whole framework is built on 6 key pillars, all coming from the teachings of Jesus. We're talking about faith, obedience, prayer, humility, perseverance, and hope. And look, these aren't just, nice-sounding words. They're presented as the actual practical building blocks for a kind of strength that just doesn't run out.
So let's take that first one, faith. The way it's described here is that faith is like an anchor for your heart. It's not about stopping the storms of life from happening, because they will. It's about having something solid to hold on to that keeps you from being tossed around when those waves start crashing. And this quote really captures it perfectly. What I love about this is how practical it is. It's not saying faith makes your problems disappear. Not at all. It's saying it gives you the courage to stand firm right in the middle of them. It's not an escape hatch. It's a source of real resilience.
Okay, let's move on to the second pillar, which is obedience. And I know that word can have some negative vibes, right? But this framework turns that idea on its head. It's not about being a pushover or just blindly following orders. It's framed as an active choice that actually brings you more clarity and peace.
Yeah, this quote really nails it. The whole point is that when you surrender to God, you're not losing something. You're not giving up your power. Actually, you're tapping into a source of inner strength that's way deeper and more resilient than anything you could build on your own.
The third pillar is prayer. And this is described as like your direct line. It's the place you go to unload all the heavy stuff you're carrying around and to recharge your batteries. It's a really practical tool for getting renewed.
And this quote, wow. It just beautifully explains what happens in that process. It's not just about talking at God. It's about a real exchange. Your fear gets swapped out for peace. Your exhaustion gets replaced with endurance. It's about finding that strength to put one foot in front of the other, especially when you feel like you just can't.
Okay, so we've got the foundation: faith, obedience, and prayer. Now let's build on that. The next 3 pillars are all about the kind of character, the mindset you need to really cultivate this divine strength.
Pillar number 4 is humility. And it's so important to get this right. It's not about thinking you're worthless. It's about thinking of yourself less. The idea here is that real strength is found when you serve others, when you can let go of your own ego to connect with and lift up the people around you.
So what does that actually look like day to day? Well, it boils down to making 3 choices: choosing compassion, choosing patience, and choosing forgiveness. It's about actively deciding to give grace, both to other people and to yourself, even when it's the hardest thing to do. That's what humility in action is all about.
All right, next up we've got perseverance, and this is all about pure grit. It's that raw ability to just take the hits, to face rejection, to endure pain and suffering, and to just keep on moving forward, all without losing that core belief that things can and will get better.
And this is such a key idea. Hardship isn't just something you have to survive, it's actually a forge. It's what shapes your character. The source material really drives this home. Our hardest times are often what spark our biggest moments of growth.
And that brings us to the 6th and final pillar, hope. And we're not just talking about wishful thinking here. The way it's defined in this framework is a really deep-seated confidence about the future.
It's not based on what's happening right now, but on the promise that something greater is on its way.
And this quote, it just says it all, doesn't it? Hope is that light in the darkness. It's the thing that reminds you that even when you can't see it, even when everything feels bleak, God is still at work, healing things, preparing things. It's a guarantee of a brighter future, no matter how tough today feels.
So there you have it. We've walked through all 6 pillars of this divine architecture of resilience. Let's pull back for a second and look at the big picture. What's the main takeaway from all this?
Okay, let's just run through them one more time. The 6 pillars of real resilience are faith, obedience, prayer, humility, perseverance, and finally, hope. That's the whole framework right there.
So here's the bottom line. The secret isn't about trying to live a life with no problems, because let's be real, that's impossible. The whole point is learning how to stand firm when the hard times do come by leaning on this framework for support. And I want to leave you with this one final thought. We spend so much of our lives trying to build our own strength, right? To make ourselves tougher. But what if this whole idea is right? What if your greatest strength isn't something you build at all, but something you just receive?